This conference will now be recorded.
All right. I'll call the meeting to order. If you can please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman?
Here.
Mr. Graham?
Here.
Mr. LaFever?
Here.
Mr. McKinnon?
Attending virtually.
Mrs. O'Rourke? Here. Mr. Pitney?
Mr. Pitney did notify me that he was unable to make it due to his flight being rescheduled. And we do have a quorum physically here at the village office. Our ordinance does allow us to have an absent trustee attend by electronic means. And Mr. McKinnon did notify me ahead of time he would not be available in person, but would be available virtually or by telephone. And he is primarily away from village duties due to business. So, Mr. McKinnon, is that true that you are away on business?
I am unable to attend business, yes.
All right. So then our ordinance does state that those that are present have to vote to allow him to attend. And by doing that, it will allow him to vote and participate as though he were here present or in person. So I would ask for a vote to allow him to participate, or a motion to participate, and then a second to that motion.
I will make that motion.
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion regarding that motion? All right, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
All right, that's unanimously approved. So Mr. McKinnon, you may now participate and have all rights as if you were here in person.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, we will go on to, and thank you for taking the time to be at the meeting. I know sometimes it's easier just to say, I can't make it, but I appreciate you making the effort to be at the meeting. We'll move on to any disclosure of conflict of interest. I do see on the agenda there is the item of village administrator, so when we get to that, I will actually not participate in that.
I missed that. I didn't know it was on there. I'm sorry.
If there's gonna be no discussion, that's fine. If there's a discussion, then at that time I'll take further action.
I believe that's only gonna be informational.
It'll be informational discussion. If there's anything beyond that, we'll do an executive session. But it's all be informational.
Okay, thank you. Any changes to the agenda tonight? All right. If there are no changes, we don't need to approve any changes. We will move to the consent agenda. We could have a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. When you're ready.
You know what, I'd like to pull the board minutes for a couple clarifying questions, if I may, from last month.
Sure. So approval of board trustees meeting minutes from October 9th, 2023 is what you'd like to pull?
Yes, please.
All right, we will pull that. That's still on the agenda. It just won't be under the consent agenda. And I will make a note of that. So all of the other items on the consent agenda will be heard under the motion. And when you're ready, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pitney? Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
All right, that's approved. So let's go on to the approval of the board minutes from October 9th, 2023. And Trustee O'Rourke, you have some comments?
Yeah, I just had a couple questions, and again, I wasn't at that meeting, so I just want to understand a couple things. So in Public Works, we did an approval for this Clayton Court water main looping from 51,445.32. That account refers to money that we're getting from the DECO grant that we didn't get. So I guess I just want to make sure, is that the right account that we want to take it from? And do we have the money since we didn't get the grant? So that would be maybe a Sally question.
Do you
I think it would be a Chad question.
Okay, it would be a Chad question.
I believe that's not actually grant money that we have to allocate matching funds.
I could be in error, but
Well-
recollection was telling me we had to, set aside matching funds, and that was gonna be, a portion of that was gonna be our matching funds.
Are you talking about that Clayton Court project or that line item 514453 that we took it from, Chad? Is an engineering line item, but the description from it just says the DECO grant engineering and DECO grant, construction of 66,000 each. So I'm just, because we didn't get the grant, and this is gonna come up in police too, so it's not over my mind when I saw it. So we didn't really get the grant. We're spending out of a line item that didn't really get funded, so to speak. So that was just my question, is was that the right line item to take it from? If it is, do we feel comfortable we have the money because we didn't get the grant? That was my two-part question.
I'd have to defer back to Sally on the availability of the money, but I do believe the money is there.
That line item is the general engineering line item for O&M.
Right.
And I don't have the budget in front of me, but I believe
Then that's what I'm saying, the notes were were accounted for all with the DECO grant, which I thought was weird, there was nothing else in engineering in that description line,
I
so.
think the description is the problem, not the line item.
So we feel like we have the money.
Yes.
The other question I had was the vote on paying Pitney Construction only because we only had 2 people vote for it and you. Does that pass? Is that enough votes or?
If we have a quorum,
We had an abstention.
we had,
Yeah.
right, so we had Ackerman, Graham, and Pitney present. And so technically I don't need to vote.
Pitney abstained.
Yeah, he
Right,
abstained,
abstained.
so we're two votes
But it
for.
was just, it'd be Ackerman and Graham that would have voted on that. Because it's only the trustees that vote on, it's not a corporate or anything, so I would not vote unless there was a tiebreaker.
So we had 2/3.
So 2 would have voted in favor, and then you have 1 abstaining. So then that would pass.
Yeah, but you would have to have 3, right?
You would have to have 3 because you're.
Because 4 would be for the quorum. So you have to have a majority, which would be 3, that's why you
Right.
voted.
That's, okay, yeah.
You voted for that reason, but then his abstention would go along with whatever the majority vote was. So that's why I fulfilled it,
Okay,
to answer your question.
thanks, yeah, that was my
But
question.
then,
Wasn't opposed to the payment, I just was
Right.
trying to understand how that,
No, yeah.
without such a light crew that night.
Yeah. Any other questions?
That's it.
Anybody else have any questions regarding the minutes for last month? If there are no requested changes, if we could now have, yeah, we'll do a roll call on that too.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Do you have a second?
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Not hearing, if we could have roll call, please.
Mr. LaFever,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
Yes.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Graham.
Yes.
All right, that's approved. And we will go on to public comment. I see that we have Jerry Langley here to discuss car wash sale. And floor is yours.
Okay, before we go into a lot of conversation, I just wondered what your thoughts are on this as far as purchasing either the car wash, the lot, or the car wash separately and the lot separately. Just wonder, have you had any connections at all with the town hall?
Typically, and I think you may know this, typically for public comment, it's an opportunity for someone to address the board. The board does not have to respond. It's just an opportunity for anyone to speak what they want to say for 3 minutes. But in response to what you said, we do have this information given to the board. I mean, they're aware of it. I thought we had on the agenda.
It was, at least so I saw it, I thought it was.
And I apologize because I just printed it out this afternoon and didn't have a chance to review it.
Yeah, I saw it, I swear I saw it on there, unless I got confused with the email I got today.
You mean you saw it other than under public comment?
Right, it was supposed to be a separate item to discuss.
Yeah, don't see it because there was an updated agenda.
Yeah, I may not have the updated one.
Oh, yes.
So the intent was to have this on the agenda later to talk about it. And I'm gonna bring it up under new business. It's up to the trustees to determine what they want to do with this issue. You're welcome to stay through the meeting and listen. If we do go into closed session to talk about it, then we would need you to leave. But the trustees may decide in open session, you know, what they want to do with this issue. It may be referred to a specific committee. But I did receive your information, and I believe that was distributed to the trustees. And like I said, I'll bring up in a new business later in the meeting, okay? And then if it's open session, you know, they can bring you into the discussion as well personally.
I didn't send it in.
All right.
Yeah, let's see.
We'll go on from there to committee reports, and we'll start with Public Works Committee.
Good evening, everyone. Let me just find where we're at here. Okay. So the first one here, it's not really an approval of, we've already made the approval for the payment to Rock Road for the street project. There was an issue with some of the work, so we had the retainage. That has all been fixed, and it's more informational, so letting you know we're sending the remaining $10,339.43 that we still owe.
Okay, and then Zach from committee,
It,
was it voted on the committee or no?
yes, it was. But we've already approved the project as a whole. We just held back the retainage to make sure everything was taken care of.
Right, but I believe we need to then vote to release the retainage because we may not be satisfied. We've had previous road projects where we've not agreed to release it.
Okay.
Due to the poor work that was done.
So that is coming from committee then.
Okay.
I'll
And,
make a motion to approve the,
He already did.
oh,
no, you said you gotta make full motion for approval now, for me to release the full funds.
right.
So I'll make a full motion of $10,339.43. Rock Road for completion of the project.
So we don't need a second because it's coming from committee, but the motion's now been made. And any discussion on the pending motion? Hearing no discussion, we'll have a roll call. When you're ready,
All right.
go ahead.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
Yes.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. LaFever.
Yes.
All right, that's been approved.
The second item is also coming from committee with our recommendation here. As the board is aware, Verizon has reached out to us saying, hey, we would like to renegotiate our terms for a tower. After going back and forth from the committee, we are recommending that we've told Verizon, hey, we don't want to make any changes. Verizon said, hey, that's fine, but we might look elsewhere. And the recommendation from committee is to have Mary send the letter saying, hey, we understand what's going on, but we're going to maintain our current contract.
That goes till,
2026?
and then.
It was a while ago.
That-
Correct, yes, they were, yes.
What do we make off that, Chad? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm speaking out of turn.
Oh, good.
Chad, what do we make off that?
It's about 18,000 a year, but it's in the lease, every 5 years, there's an incremental gain. And during this process, they have somebody that's looking at, I don't remember what his title was, but somebody that cheapens up the lease
Yeah.
opportunity, and they really badger us back and forth, and then when we said, yeah, we're willing to talk, send your escrow payment, so we involve our attorney and our engineers staff and put our internal staff on it. they politely responded that they wouldn't be sending that check and that they would take that as an acknowledgement that we don't want to renegotiate. And as the board is aware and the committee was aware, our lease is very clear cut, and we spent a lot of money to draft it, and they followed it this far, but then again, to just reiterate, it incrementally gains, like in 5-year increments, and is automatically renewable. So obviously they'll most likely reach out again at the term time, and we would consider if there was a change, but they've added equipment recently. I think it went on there in 2016 is when it started, so around $19,000 a year is an average.
Any other discussion? And so, is there any action to be taken by the board?
A vote from the board to approve Mary to send the email stating, we appreciate your input, we're going to maintain our current contract.
Okay, so if we have a motion to authorize our village
I guess I'll
attorney.
make that motion too.
All right, sounds good, Adam, thank you.
And that is coming from committees.
Perfect, so no second is needed for that. Any discussion? Thank you, Chad, for the information. Hearing no discussion, roll call please.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pitney? Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
All right, the third item is a recommendation from committee again, to replace one of our tractors, not to exceed $53,000 from line item 5144. My computer. There's three digits.
44951.
Thank you. I think there's 3 digits afterwards.
You guys got a motion?
No, it's gotta come from somebody else. So I'll make that motion to approve 53,000 for a new tractor.
And that is coming from committee.
All right.
And I think I saw in the minutes that was in lieu of one of the other pieces of equipment that we originally talked about, right?
The skid loader and the utility tractor kind of have the same age out, the same depreciation slot on our schedule. And the skid loaders are harder to get, and some capital failures are imminent on the tractor, so it jumped its space in line. But if you were to refer back to the 22 budget, that was in the permanent notes in 22, and it just got shorthanded to skid loader in 23. So they're gonna flip.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call please.
Mr. Pitney? Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
And that's approved.
All right, number 4 is more informational. We needed 2 new fire hydrants. The total cost was $6,748 from account 5144542. And that was already approved and submitted via the committee. Just wanted to let everyone be aware.
442?
542. 44542.
And it was 6,000?
748. And from my understanding, they're like very nice fire hydrants. Is this? Like the Cadillacs of fire hydrants.
Fire hydrants, of course.
Yeah.
Highest flowing hydrants on the market.
All right, so moving on to number 5, which is the sale of excess equipment to Four Rivers. Four Rivers approached us. They have an immediate need for one of our generators, which is currently located in Greenlee. It was originally designed for a pumping station, which we don't use anymore, and they are wanting to purchase it for $12,500.
All right, and is that,
That is not coming from committee.
okay, so somebody could make the motion, please?
Take it away, Adam.
I'll make that motion. It's on the generator. It's a Four Rivers to bring it up for discussion.
How much is that?
$12,500. And I will second that motion.
Is that a good price?
Well, we gotta bring up the discussion, so.
So now that we've got a second, we can discuss the issue. So anybody have an idea of the value? Chad, if you have an idea.
Yeah, we did this exact same exercise to the Winburn Fire Department, the exact same size. Some of the board was not here, so to please the board, state that when we conducted the IGA with FRSA, We had 5 lift stations that we had portable generators at. And we retained the one that we sold to Winburn Sioux. Another larger one went to one of our well houses and can support it. This particular one is too small for any of our pumping stations. It was on a small horsepower wastewater lift station that during our IGA was set to be abandoned. They've run into some reasons to not abandon it for the foreseeable future. So they're gonna put a brand new generator here in Winnebago and utilize that portable one at more necessary areas. But to directly answer the question, that was the price point when we sold to Winburn Sioux, which was probably 8 years ago or greater, and they've really retained their value. These, it's actually, I believe it's Mitsubishi engine, and it's diesel, and it's been on, we have all of our generators on a contract maintenance schedule. They kept the same maintenance schedule, so they know the condition. And Rush Power, who sold us the generators on the original date, quoted me that that would be a very lucrative sale price. I'm obviously equipment junkie, I always look at it, so that's a really good value. Not to change anything, but we're just asking for permission. The district wants to budget on their end. There's no guarantee they're going to do it. So if their board doesn't approve it, we'll be retaining it and coming back to the committee and the board for another route of sale.
But as this motion is stating, would be the authorization to sell it to them at that price. So then if their board does do it, we don't need to come back to our board.
Correct.
Except that we have to have an ordinance, so we need to make that subject to ordinance because it's excess personal property.
Thank you, Mary. And any
So
other?
I can create that for,
Yeah.
have that ready.
And is that something where we should have a meeting to create the ordinance until we get the okay from?
That's what I think. I mean, I think
Board members,
you are approving it in concept
Yeah.
that you would want to do that, but why spend the money for me if
Yeah.
it never happens? But I'm just saying, when it's going to happen, let me know, so we have the ordinance.
And would you like to amend your motion to include all of that?
Yes.
I will second everything there. Yeah, to approve it in concept and.
So all you have to do is rewind it, take here,
You go back.
go back.
And then restate the motion with that in it.
Yes.
Okay. So we've got, first, a second, we have discussion, we've had a modification. Any other discussion regarding the now amended pending motion? All right, if there's no further discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pittman?
All right, and that's approved.
All right, and the final item is the bulk purchase of 240 water meters from account number 5144541. As we know, we've been working on replacing all of our water meters. I say we, like I'm doing something. It's Public Works here, is working their butts off here. We have approximately 600 to go left. This came up for 2 reasons. We were, instead of getting the onesie twosies, we want to get as many as we can, as well as they charge us for shipping quite often as they send the onesie twosies, and they're also working on increasing the cost per item. So we said, hey, if we buy a bunch right now, we can get a good price, we can save on shipping. So we're looking to purchase 10 boxes, which is 240 of them, for $210 each, for a total of $50,040. I'm sorry, let's try numbers again. $50,400.
All right, so we need a motion to then approve the purchase. And is that something that was discussed at committee and approved at committee, or?
It was discussed but not approved. We
So
had
we'll
never
need a motion and we'll need a second. Anybody want to make a motion to
I'll make a motion.
authorize the purchase of 10
Bulk
boxes?
purchase of 10 boxes, 240,
For a total of,
for a total of $50,400,
coming out of account number.
coming out of account number 51-44-541.
And I will second that motion.
All right, good deal. Any additional discussion?
And this will be approximately half of what we need left.
And just to let everybody know, we have a little over 1,200 total users. So if we've got 600 left, we were already 600 changes.
We're actually about 705, I think you grabbed a couple today, so we're probably about 710 installed.
Okay.
And we wouldn't have storage space for more than this, and we also don't want the batteries to age out. They gotta get activated at the factory, but again, to please the board, we were set to be done at January 1, 2024, and as we recall, the supply chain issues, we were not getting a box of 24 for 2 or 3 months. So we were way ahead, we couldn't get inventory. The ladies up front were doing a great job scheduling, and we were barely keeping up with attrition, because the ones that have aged out from the late 90s, early 2000s, basically lose 16 to 20 every month due to battery life. So Sally, I think you grabbed the budget. I just want to make sure. I thought we budgeted 160, thinking that maybe we could get the lion's share this year, and I think we spent
The
less than 60.
balance is 39,269, but we do have money in contingency. So do you expect to receive all of it this year?
Yes,
Okay.
Because it's currently sitting on the shelf waiting, correct?
yeah. We jumped the line.
I can make it work.
And Chad, what does the terminology
Take
endpoints mean when you call them water meter endpoints?
It's actually the top, the register on the water meter, and we use a cellular technology where all the residents can have data in real time, and they can get alerts if they have a leak, and we can trend. We get alerts here in the office and even in my office, and it's 100% accountability. Some of the residents really, really like it, and again, it's a battery operated unit. So the old radio ones were the old style battery. These are the newer, all the data lingo that I can't spit out.
It also saves
The
on
latest
labor
and
for
greatest
reading
batteries.
water meters.
Yes.
That's right, saves
It also saves on labor for reading water meters.
Gotcha, thank
Oh,
you.
yeah.
Tremendous amount of labor on reading water meters.
And particularly in the point of sale time, the final reads for sales of a home is, a man does not have to go to the site. The administrative office just clicks a button on the computer, it's all there, it's done. It's nearly instant, so
Thank you.
it's really good.
All right, any other discussion? No additional discussion, roll call please.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. LaFever,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
Yes.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman.
Yes.
All right, that's approved. Anything else from Public Works?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Nothing from Community Development, so we will move on to Police Committee.
All right, we wanted the board to be aware that we did not get this round of the camera grant update. Remember, we did budget for getting the grant, and then we budgeted to spend the grant, and we didn't get the grant. Part of the grant was you had to kind of show proof of purchase. We had invoices. We don't know. I guess we didn't really get a good explanation of why we didn't get it, but we were encouraged to reapply. You're gonna cover?
No, I've got one thing to say. I reached out to Representative McCombie when she was here, and I asked her about that because there was some questions about how many of those grants were actually awarded. And I found out that apparently there was some difference in opinion with the LSP board that was approving those, and a lot of those didn't even get looked at. A lot of those grants that were submitted didn't even get looked at because of the issues they were having with the LSP board that was approving those. So my understanding is November 15th this month, there's another submission, end of the submission process, and then in the spring again, they'll have another submission. Nick Happ is working on that grant, that's about ready to be let loose to ILETSB, so we should have that grant in to ILETSB by the 15th. I found it interesting that the whole holdup with that was issues with ILETSB's governing board that was supposed to be reviewing those grants.
Well, it was strange because we were getting encouraged all along that this was gonna almost be a slam dunk, which I never take grants as a slam dunk because things like this do happen.
but it's
What we
hopefully.
had been hearing was the fact that there didn't seem to be a lot of agencies out there that were getting the grant for that year, particular grant period. So when Representative McCombie was here, I asked her about it. She said she'll look into it. Well, the next day I had another meeting with her over in Freeport, and they had that answer for me.
That's good.
So that was the reason why a lot of people didn't, a lot of agencies, a lot of municipalities didn't get grants, is because some issue with LSB and not reviewing those grants when they were supposed to be taken care of.
Mhm.
Who is this that's approving? I can't keep, LSP?
ILSB.
Yes, Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, that's where the grant comes through,
ILSP.
Illinois Law Enforcement Training
the Standards
and
Board.
Standard Board. Aren't they the ones that put on the program that you and Sergeant Half attended for, isn't that the same one that the chief from Duran went to? Is that the same board?
Are you, I'm
Or am I mixing that up?
kind of lost where you're
I think
going.
you're thinking of the Northern Illinois Training. and
That's what it is, yes.
Yeah,
That's a different board, okay,
ILSP is the whole state.
okay.
NITAB is Region 2, is our region.
Okay, that's what I was confusing, because I know Jeff, Shelley, thank you, yes, he was in the northern one, and I was thinking he was in the Iowa.
Yeah, he's the executive director for MTU 2,
Okay,
Region 2. It's called the Northern Illinois Training Advisory Board, but it goes by
Thank you.
Mobile Training Unit number 2 as well.
all right, thanks. Well, it's good to know that Attorney McCombie, because I know she and when Connie here was her assistant, she was actively looking it up at the time when we were here, so I'm glad they were able to give you some information at least.
So I mean, it was, my understanding, it was 33 million that was available for this last grant, and we submitted and I can't even really say it's denied, they never got a chance to review all the applications that came in. There's supposedly gonna be another 33 million for this cycle that ends November 15th.
And we are seeking 90,000, is there?
Yeah, so-
We would only get the cost of the cameras themselves, nothing, no licenses, no storage or anything like that. So we would end up getting roughly a third of it.
Okay.
And I've already talked to Sally about potential expectation of what we would get.
Okay.
But obviously, we're not gonna get that money back in this year, this budget year.
Because we would be on the state's fiscal cycle.
Yeah.
This is actually fiscal 2024 for them.
Okay.
So we would anticipate payments to start going out January 1st.
Okay.
Well, thank you both for all your work on that. I know this grant process has been ongoing, but that's where we stand now, and we'll figure out the budget stuff in finance.
So just so you know, all the new camera systems are installed in the car, and all our body cameras are here and operational. So we are using those on a daily basis.
Good, all right. Thank you for the update.
Another person.
Any,
They're kind of happy here.
this is waiting. We have somebody that may have called in, if you can identify yourself.
It's the first out.
We don't have anyone responding,
Okay, I just,
so,
okay.
all right. Anything from finance? No. Admin team and clerk. First item is health, dental, vision premium renewals, and the open enrollment will start November 15th. We were pleasantly surprised with the numbers that came back, and they're actually a little bit lower than last year. And what we'd like to do is just, in essence, have the same plans available and have the same percentage contributed by the village towards each employee's plan renewal. We just need the board to approve that.
Can every year we talk about paying the same share for staff or for employee plus family, which is not even heard of in the real world, I feel like. And every year we say we're gonna look at that, but we never really do. So, I mean, we don't have a policy that says if your spouse can get insurance elsewhere, they should. That's common in a lot of places, and I worry a lot. I mean, you've got all the taxpayers that are kind of subsidizing family coverage, and they're paying those exorbitant premiums themselves for family coverage. I do this for a living. I help people navigate their insurance as part of my financial planning that I do, and I see what's out there. So I have a pretty broad swath of what it is, and this is a very, very generous plan. And believe me, I love my staff, so please, guys, it's just trying to balance, should we really be subsidizing the cost of all of this year after year?
In my opinion, you do have to weigh that in. You have to look at, I know certain school districts do the same thing.
Not ours.
No, used to. And you also have to look at what our employees are receiving for salary versus what
Which
they
we've
get
done.
elsewhere, and what they're getting for their benefits. So I think you have to look at the whole package. I have no problem reviewing this. I don't think tonight is really gonna be the opportunity to do it, just because we are so close to where we have to enroll. But I think if this is something to review, we can start it in January. I mean, there's nothing that says we can't start the discussion of how are we going to do this the next year, and we can talk about it for the next 8 months until.
I think what Julie's trying to get at is it's a 90-10 split.
Mhm.
And I happen to look at my contract, I pay 18%. So I think that's where, we were very lucrative years ago until contracts came through. So maybe I think we should get into it. We probably might have to look at that, some of that percentage cost, what's on the employee and family carve outs. Sometimes there's spousal carve outs and whatnot. So, I don't think that's a fly by the road and be done in one day, but we definitely have to put that on the table to discuss an admin price springtime.
Yep.
So we're ahead of it, and if we gotta change our percentages around.
I think the school, just as an example, correct me if I'm wrong, Alan could pull 2022, I didn't see 2023, so they pay 95% for employees, and they pay 50% for if you take spouse, kids, family.
We only have two options, it's either single or family, and it's 95% they'll cover for single and 50% for family.
And then there's, a lot of places have policies for if your spouse can get, coverage with their own employer, they need to. Or you can surcharge or something. I mean, it's just trying to be fair to the constituents and to the staff, you know what I mean? I think the way of the world has gone, it's gone that way a long time ago, even on the union side with the school district here, so it's not like it's out of the box.
I think some of that discussion back when it was changed to the 80-20 to 90-10 was an incentive for people to be hired in the police department. Because that was one of the draws of trying to get people to apply. There's, I'll say, a minimal number of people that take family here. There's some that don't take insurance here. And I understand the village takes a lot of the financial cost of that at the 90-10.
And 90-10 is fine for employee coverage, and even that is generous, truly, in today's world. 90-10 is generous for the employee only. Just when you start carrying everybody else and the premiums, how they rise with that.
We've done it different ways over the years. We've done 80-20. We've done where we give a dollar amount to each employee and they can put that towards the insurance. And this last time we did it 90-10. And Jeff, thanks for bringing that up because that is a reminder that I think we're trying to be competitive. Now, we've also raised base rates for employees, so we tried to get that where it should be. But again, this is a discussion we're going to need to have. And as Adam said, admin teams will be addressing this, needs to address it. We need to have all the input. How's it going to affect hiring new employees in the future? Is it something that's
I think you also have to figure out how it's going to affect the one person that has family.
Well,
because basically.
It's not one, that's 6 people with family according to this
No.
information.
No, that's not right.
That's what it shows on here.
Anyway, so it's basically going to penalize one person.
Or
if you change.
family or spouse.
Right, so I think.
Someone other than themselves, sorry.
Only one table.
So I think what you look at is you don't look at an individual, you just look at the whole group.
Correct.
You don't want to say, well, we've only got one employee, so therefore we can
Yeah, exactly.
we can go ahead and do it because it's only going to affect one person. No, you can't look at it that way. You got to look at it as a whole and say,
You look at it as a package.
right. You know, how's it?
Yeah, we
every
shouldn't even
employee?
know who has what, and we don't, I mean, I don't know who has what.
And we should know how many people got what plan.
Right. So at this point, and again, you know, I'm glad you brought it up. We need to discuss it. I just don't know that we won't have the time to discuss it to get this in place, but it's something that we need to look at for.
That's something the village administrator even can tackle too when they have, you know.
Put it on his
We're gonna hire
His or her.
Fix these
His
problems.
or her.
Otherwise, if I put it on their packet of to-dos. To-do list has got 14 pages long already.
I noticed the financial cost, we lost 2 people in the police department, and when I added those positions in for the 24 budget, I put them in as a family plan.
Yeah.
And that number is just huge. I mean, to go what we had for 2023 to what I had budgeted for 2024, you're talking $40,000.
Okay.
By adding 2 people with family coverage, $40,000. That's the village cost.
The current cost is over $2,000 a month for the village to pay for a family.
I mean, I understand the financial side of it, the cost. I agree with you, Frank, it has to be equal across everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you're gonna change a plan like what the school has, where it's 95% for the employee, but 50% for the family members, that's a big hit on somebody who has a family plan.
I may be wrong, but when we went from 80-20 to trying to figure out a different amount, we had looked at approximately $11,000 per employee to contribute. And if it's $2,000 a month, yes, you know, that's $24,000. So that's significantly more than the 11,000 we had looked at before. So we do have to look at it from all sides and what's going to be appropriate for the village to spend and for the employee to receive as a benefit. So again, it's something that admin team and the village administrator can work on and come up with an idea of what's going to be fair. And then the board can ultimately decide how they want to. So at this point, we have the plans that we need to approve and the payment for the village's portion of that payment. And it looks like they're all here, so if we could have a motion to approve or a motion to offer the plans in the packet to the employees that were presented to us, and that the village continue to pay the same percentage as last year.
Can we do that 2 separate votes?
We absolutely can. Yes, so why don't we do the first one of just approving the plans themselves that will be available to the employees.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the current plans?
I assume the admin team sat through this and did the due diligence as usual.
Well, after Kelly calmed down from being so excited when she received the numbers.
Yeah, they were lower, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember.
There was no change from what the year was prior besides the rate drop, pretty much, and there was
Just
very little.
one plan.
Category was higher, and that was the one with the HSA, is that?
Yeah.
It's just a deductible amount that changed.
So there was very minimal
Might
conversation,
have.
just because of the rate drop and no major changes in the current package.
Perfect.
That did not affect anybody current, so.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, if we could have roll call, please.
Mr. Beaver,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
Yes.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Graham.
Yes.
All right, that's approved. Now we'll need a motion for the village to contribute an amount towards the employee health plans. Currently, it's 90-10.
Currently proposed or currently from last year, this current year?
And that's,
From this year,
this year it's currently 90-10, and the admin team was proposing the same 90-10. So that would need to be a motion made by somebody at the board.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion regarding the contribution of the village towards the employee health plan.
And this is, just so we're clear, this is employee and or family, is that right?
So, right.
90% of the healthcare costs. This is healthcare only.
Correct.
Yes.
And so from the village's standpoint, we should actually be saving money,
Village side saving money, and the employee saving money due to the fact our premium is
gone down.
just under 4%.
And then, of course, it's and then everyone stays status quo.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
But this is also an opportunity if you wanted to increase the employee's percentage, we could make it from a 90-10 to an 89-11, 88-12. I'm just throwing it out there where you're not being detrimental to your employee, but you're also bringing the benefit of the village of taking some of the burden off.
At this point, I assume administrative or the admin team went through all of this, and if we've already budgeted it for next year.
Yes.
Can we have the motion include that this gets discussed?
I think we did
Doesn't
last
matter.
year, Jason, I think that motion was made last year.
Oh,
But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, you could also say something to the effect that this is the final year that this will be approved at this amount, unless there is discussion, then
Right.
next year,
yeah, I mean,
so that you have it where it's committing that, whether it's
this is the last time it'll be 90-10.
well,
We do it for remember that.
Unless-
unless without further investigation.
I don't know that's, I just think we have to make sure we start capping this in March or something, and have some time to do our research and figure out where we stand relative to other places.
This happened a couple of years ago, and the employees had like 72 hours to make decisions.
And that's where we are
Yes.
today, and I think
Yes.
they've been kind of involved in this.
Well, they got more than 62 because the opening doesn't happen until the 15th. I think they got like a 2-week
But
window.
what happened that time was I had to call every single employee because we had like 2 days.
It was a few years ago.
Yeah.
And we ended up just sticking with the old plans for fairness. But anyway, so it's a motion, a second, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we're going with the 90%.
Correct.
Any additional discussion? If there's no additional discussion, roll call, please.
Mr. McKinnon,
No.
Mrs. O'Rourke,
No.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman,
yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. LaFever,
Yes.
Okay,
3 yeses and 2 noes.
that's approved. So the village will continue to pay at that rate.
You go making a note for next year.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's
I was trying to figure out how I
Please.
could do a task on mini code.
He's got it down.
But I don't know how it could be discussed in March if we don't know the rates until October.
You ignore the
It's
rates.
just in
Yeah,
concept.
we're just gonna do a conceptual, we'll look at current and possible future, and, because I had done that before, where you look at potential changes and you see how does that going to affect. So we can do that. All right, the next item we have is the 2024 Board of Trustees meeting dates. So we need to schedule those.
They should have been in your packet,
They
and I believe they are. And they are on the
Yes.
they are the second Monday of, each day, each meeting, each month,
We're required by statute
to approve it in
to
November.
approve these, yeah.
Can I make a proposed change?
You can.
Do we need to make a motion first?
I don't know, what are you
Well,
proposing?
I would like to move April's to the 15th instead of the 8th.
I thought we had an ordinance that said we meet on the second
So
Monday.
that we have to meet?
right.
But we will.
Tax
Typically,
day?
typically what we do is we meet on the second Monday, but if there's a reason why we don't want to meet on that particular time, then we can schedule a special board meeting.
Like if we find out people are gonna
What's
be
on
gone.
the 8th?
I won't be here. So if everyone else is fine with the 15th, I figure we could just move it if it's easy, but if it's a pain, then I just won't attend.
I mean, I don't know what's gonna be happening on the 15th, so at this point, I would recommend that we keep April.
Okay.
Keep all the dates, and then you just let everybody know that you won't be available that day, and then we all check our calendars to see where we're at and if we need to reschedule that.
Now, by doing it that way, if we chose to do it, wouldn't everybody still have to show up and then say, hey, we're rescheduling for another day?
Could.
Okay, well, and again, if I'm not at that one, that's fine. I just know I'm going to miss it, so I figure we could
We
try.
could also in advance do
At
it.
the March meeting.
Right,
The March
you
meeting,
know,
we
at
can
the
say
March meeting, yeah.
Yeah, we can say at the March meeting that we're not gonna have the April meeting on the 8th, we're gonna have it on the 15th.
Is that the
I
same
won't
thing
be
that we're
here in
doing right
April.
now?
We can, but see, the problem is this, if you all of a sudden say, we're not gonna have it on the 8th, we're gonna have it on the 15th, and now we've got 3 people taking vacation on the 15th next year, or not able to be here, now we've said we can't do it on the 8th, we can't do it on the 15th, now we gotta do a different day, whereas everyone could have been available on the 8th,
I can't do May 13th.
so.
So I mean, we could play this game.
Right.
Well, yeah, but that's my point. If we're looking at the calendar ahead of time, and we know we can't. If I don't like the one, it's okay.
I mean, I might not be able to make the June 10th meeting, I've got vacation then. You don't know what's gonna come in life, so we just stick to the second Monday, so I think it'd be probably best if we keep the schedule, and then we can just kind of take it from there.
All right. And I'll make a motion to approve the posted minutes. Sure. I'm not posted minutes, posted meeting
Posted
dates.
meeting dates.
I was reading
second
word minutes.
All right, so we got a motion, we got a second to approve.
I didn't hear the second.
I'll second.
Sorry.
Any additional discussion on the meeting dates?
Really?
And they're gonna be at 6 PM.
I can't do January 8th either, so.
Well, that's my daughter's birthday, so I won't.
All right, vote. Please, get it.
All in favor, or let's do a roll call.
Mrs. O'Rourke.
Yes.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. LaFever.
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon.
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
Oh, dear.
We'll move on to the next item, which is a recommendation to hire Stephanie King for the position of part-time utility billing clerk. Somebody may know more about this than I do, but I believe that she's coming upon her time period.
$500, yeah.
500 hours.
Oh, okay.
So we would like to hire her into that position. And what would be her wage that she would be?
$16.50.
$16.50, and then is she on probation for 6 months?
So her probation is part of the way through, because what we've done with those people is from the date they started with us through the temp agency, through 6 months.
Okay.
So she'll reach that 6 months, say 2 months from now, I don't know exactly, but
So at this point, she would
She is
start
on
at
probation.
$16.50.
Yes.
She's currently on probation, and then if she successfully graduates from that, then she would receive is it a 50-cent increase or a $1 increase?
it's 50 cents, as far as I know.
I think she'll actually hit her probation time in December of 2023.
Okay,
So
I
it
didn't know the
will
date.
be before the end of the year.
And I guess just as for clarity, we really don't have no probation through the temp agency, so I think it's a 6-month probation with credit for the time that she worked
Okay.
through the probation. I mean, through the temp agency.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes better sense.
Say that again, because
So that it's a 6-month probationary period, but with credit given for the time she worked for the village through the temp agency. So that it accomplishes the same timeframe.
Yes. I'm sorry, I just had to get it written down.
So
I will make that motion.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any additional discussion regarding this?
What's the start date? Because we've been paying through the temp agency, so what's the start date
I'm
for
sorry, I
this?
don't know, it's very sudden.
No, it was June. I can look.
But I mean, for.
She's gonna be
for us
starting with the
paying-
village employee.
I don't know. It's one of the 500 hours, and it's this
Oh, I
week
see
or
what you're
next
saying.
week,
I
and I'm not
get
sure of the
you. I
date.
get you.
I'm sorry.
Any, and I can, Sally, I don't know if you can hear, but any issues?
No,
Okay,
quite the opposite.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. We're in discussion.
Stephanie has been a delightful employee, and I'm happy that she wants to work for us.
I don't think Sally, I don't think there's anything you need to do.
I think we're okay, because it'll just be upon completion of the 500 hours.
Right.
So, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. Pitney, Mr. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Graham,
Yes.
Mr. LaFever,
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke.
Yes.
All right, that's approved. Next item is a stipend for Stephanie King for the position of village social media moderator or monitor. Kelly had contacted me, I think it was last week, and we discussed this. And she said that Stephanie would be agreeable to doing this. As you know, she already has some background in social media. And she was gonna do this, I think, on her own time, and Kelly said, no, I think we really need to look at paying somebody to do this. And I agree that we really do need someone to do this. And the idea would be, Kelly thought of $75 per pay period, that she'd be paid that stipend, no matter really how much time she spends. We don't know if she's gonna spend 3 hours a week, 2 hours a week, 10 hours a week. It's gonna be one of those things where we will just kind of monitor and kind of get feedback from her as to how much time she's spending. But this would be a separate position, so it would not be part of her regular duties. It's a separate position, and we then would pay that stipend. And just wanted to bring it to the board to see if the board is wanting to look at creating the position and filling the position and having her do it. I don't know that we would have a better person that could do it. And she would do it obviously outside of her regular work time, whether it be in the evening, morning, after she gets off of work or on the weekends. We do need this. It'd be nice for an employee to be monitoring this. And then if need be, to contact the appropriate person, either staff or board member, if we need certain responses to things. So I'm just here.
Social media, meaning which social, what definition is it? Yes, what social medias?
Probably Facebook. I don't know if we have an Instagram account. I know Sergeant Half is usually on top of some of those things.
I think all we have is a Facebook account.
There's also,
I could be wrong, but.
Pardon me?
there's also a LinkedIn account.
A LinkedIn account? Okay.
Yes.
So we would want to monitor.
That was
those
there prior.
It we'd use that for posting jobs pretty much, right?
Yeah, but you might get
Yes.
other comments or.
Yes, it was originally established, I became a super administrator 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, whatever. But it was originally established right around the 2010 period, 2009.
Did you say a super administrator?
Yeah, that's what they call it, my
Elevated
super
opinion
administrator
of
page.
himself, doesn't it?
So,
I became a super duper administrator.
Superhero.
so we do have a LinkedIn account, but yes, I think the only thing I got that has been published on there is the administrator position.
And would the purpose of the position be that if somebody brings something up, then she brings it up to the appropriate village person as to what concern was expressed, or?
Right, if there's like, hey, why is this going on at the village? Then she might be able to go to the appropriate staff person and say, okay, this is what's going on.
I think an additional part of that would be, village notifications.
Yeah.
Boil orders,
Okay.
water main breaks, those types of things. So we get those out there to people, they know what's going on. I know the police department tries to do that as much as we can on our Facebook page. Chad's really good about letting us know what's going on as far as water or whatever, and we try and post it. I think this is just another avenue. I don't know how many people, monitor the Winnebago Village Facebook page, but there is that option to put that information out there. And if you want to do a survey of some sort about certain topics, that's something you can put out through Facebook.
Yeah.
And get those responses back on to see what, the general population.
We have,
Things that have happened, like when we've had power outages, I've done my own Facebook page and then I would just say, this is the status of what's going on. And then I'd actually post it onto the Winnebago community site that Stephanie runs herself. And then it would go out to community members. Here, we could do the same thing, but through our own website. And then it could be,
Facebook page.
Facebook, yeah.
The only,
we have 1.9, we have 1,900 followers on the Facebook page.
The only caution I would give there is that I know she does the Winnebago page, and they have much more liberty to say, don't say unkind things, or don't criticize anybody.
So that brings up a good topic. You might have to do some legal avenues on it, because we are public administration, that's become public knowledge or public stuff. You're starting to see public entities disable comment sections.
That was part of the discussion.
And that might just disable the comment section, and it's outflowing news.
Yeah.
Nothing back, no comments, people can, and all that stuff. Something we might have to look at how other municipalities are running it, so we don't get ourselves in a pinch or a bind, but a lot of them are using it for outgoing boil orders, events, projects.
And assuming that we could do that, then that's fine, but if we can't, or if we choose to let comments be made, I'm only saying that you have to allow more expansive comments when you're a public entity.
Right, I've read some cases about that in the last 3 or 4 months that have addressed that, and yes, I mean, you can say, we don't want this person on there because they're making inappropriate comments, but you can't really do that.
You can't do that because it's a public page, so a lot of them just disable. So no comments are made, but it's good for us to have our face out there, the outgoing news, keep the public informed. It's a one-way streak. And they can sit there and screenshot it and share it on wherever they want to share it on.
So do we have on our police page, is that something that's communicated back and forth?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
When we get comments that are detrimental, we respond to those comments, as to why, because a lot of those comments may be, inaccurate.
Yeah.
So we put inaccurate information out over the Facebook page, so there's no question of where the police department stands.
Mhm.
If somebody questions about something that happened, that's happened many times in the past. Sergeant Half monitors that very closely. If those derogatory comments are made, we do say, we prefer you be more positive in that manner, but we also explain if that information is inaccurate or untruthful.
So one thing that I would recommend, if, you were going to do this for employees, there's a lot of training out there that's either free or doesn't cost too much, that we can send an employee to for like public information officer training. And there's even workshops on social media specific for municipalities.
Okay.
And I think that would, I think UNIML does something along those lines for it, and I think that would be pretty beneficial.
Sure.
To send them into.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea.
What is a pay period for her? You said 2 weeks.
Everybody's 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I thought I remember with this new website, there was a way for constituents to sign up to get notifications of upcoming meetings and board
With our
orders
website, yes.
on our current website, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Through Civic Plus.
So is
I
there
just
a
have-
ton of activity back and forth on our website now? I wouldn't even know.
I don't know.
There's not much that comes out.
On our website or on the Facebook?
On Facebook, I'm sorry.
There's not much that comes out on our Facebook page.
And
And I think
Nick
that,
takes most of it.
huh?
Nick takes care of it.
Not for the village, I
that's
just do.
police.
Police department. So I think we should have better presence in the Facebook world because this generation runs their life off of this. And just the outgoing information, keep the community or constituents informed of positive things are going on would be good. Otherwise you get people that talk in the background that those boards are not doing stuff. And it's, you hear that all the time. We talk to people, run into them. So.
I think that's
I think he had some.
Mike, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I just have one comment, and I brought this up before, and again, it's not really from a self-serving standpoint because, again, I'm closer to my way out than my way in, but I don't know how much time that social media may take, but if you looked at the proposed rates, that puts, that stipend at a higher level than what the trustees are making. And to me, it seems like the trustees are investing more time, so I don't have a problem with the proposed stipend, but as I've said in the past, I think the future of what the fair, equitable stipend for the trustees needs to be looked at.
Yeah, I agree.
I just want to bring up, I know there's a discussion around the village about rebranding the village. You could use Facebook to ask for
ideas.
Not that this is determinative, because of course I will double check, but I was looking to see if there was any legal things in here about in Illinois, and it does indicate that if an elected official or government agency uses their social media to share government information, they cannot limit who gets to see that content because of particular opinions, of course. A government official or page is under no obligation to take public comments and may turn off all comments. I'll confirm that, but that's, I think, what Adam's
I
talking
think
about.
we turn off the comments, we save ourselves, I think, a headache for the future.
But obviously that you have to turn it off. Assuming this is accurate, you have to turn it off completely.
But that's my understanding of what I've read before, that if you turn it off and you don't have comment, that's fine.
Because I
But
believe
if
we
you
gotta
allow
keep,
for comment, then you have to allow for all comments, and you
Yeah.
can't,
and I believe we gotta keep
you can't
record of all
redact or
comments.
take out certain comments, you have to leave them there.
I think
They
that some of
have
it
to
is,
be FOIA-able.
they have to be foilable, so which
So
means we
that's
gotta turn
another
around
reason
and
to
keep
shut it down.
records of all that
So
stuff.
are we currently discussing whether or not we should use social media or whether or not we should have?
You're right.
So basically,
We're discussing all of it.
rolled into, or should we do a Facebook page or not? I say yes, we should have a Facebook social media presence. The biggest topic is how big of a stipend do we want to give Stephanie to,
Or any individual.
or anybody who is gonna do it, to be the one that does the post and all that? Because now if you turn off the comments, you don't need a moderator.
Right.
You just need somebody to make the post. Now, I am in favor of sending somebody to like a PIO, public information classes, just to help with other things. If you get somebody who does PIO stuff, to potentially help when you gotta do a police public release. We have something going on in town, that maybe be a better thing to do, and maybe she does get her PIO certification, we can do other things. So,
Is there a motion?
It seems to be like this needs to be fleshed out a little bit more. What are our expectations of this thing? What do we want out of her? What do we want out of it? What do we want out of social media?
Right, and again, it was something that was brought up kind of quickly. So that's why I put it on the agenda, just to discuss, to see if you had any ideas, what you wanted to do. Is this something where we want to address it in admin team, most likely, because it doesn't fit really a committee?
I think so, we'll start an admin and we'll.
And I would just ask that when you discuss it in admin, just be careful about the PIO terminology, because that public information officer, I know we've got some stuff from the past about disasters, and that's really intended to be not an employee per se, but someone like either the village president, the chief of police. I realize the chief of police is an employee, but I'm just saying that it's considered to be someone at high level management, making those sorts of things. So I just didn't want to make the person think that if they're doing certain things on Facebook, that suddenly then they're the voice of the village.
No, they would hopefully work in conjunction with,
They'd work with the village administrator, the village president, the board,
yes.
and then whichever employee that it might be addressing. So if we have something for Public Works, be working with the Public Works director or anybody from that person's staff.
Because they're gonna have the technical language, they're the ones that are.
Okay, great feedback, thank you very much. We will go on to the next item, which is discussing step A for the police department. And we have discussed that for quite a long time at admin team, and I believe the police committee has been discussed as well, and we're looking forward to bringing it up to have it set by the board. I don't know if police committee.
We have discussed it, please.
Okay.
Yeah, the police one.
Okay. So is it the police committee's desire to bring it forward at the next board meeting then, to have the amounts in the step pay, or?
I would bring all departments to the board meeting.
And I see we didn't get down here at Public Works, but is Public Works Committee ready to bring forward its?
Negative.
Not tonight.
No, not tonight, but at the next.
We try to get something hammered out by the next board meeting for sure.
We can add it to the agenda for the next Public Works meeting, 100%.
Okay.
So we just gotta sit there.
So then it's likely we'll have step pay then brought up. at the
Officially, I mean,
board meeting.
I guess we can hammer out the police right now and in the concept, if any of the trustees don't understand the concept of it, because that's the big hurdle. So I know in police committee we hammered out, I think Jason or Julie kind of got a strong understanding of it.
I wouldn't call it strong.
We got an
I
understanding of
felt it
it.
at the moment.
I'm assuming you have a pretty good understanding of it because of your job.
I understand step pay, yes. I'm not sure how we are intending on doing, but I do understand step pay.
What I would suggest is maybe we don't have this conversation two different board meetings, that maybe we, if Public Works is willing to go through and put something together, then maybe we then bring them both up at the same, all at the same time. And I know that we were looking at administrative staff, and have you, Sally, been able to work with Kelly and Sally?
I put something together just today and mailed it to Kelly for review.
Okay.
She's out sick today, but it's in the process.
Okay, so I think that it would be good to bring this up at the December meeting, to talk about step pay for basically all the employees then. And each department may have its own rate, its own category.
I'll show you. Decide what you want.
So then, my recommendation would be if we have, charts that we can bring up at the meeting, maybe if that's gonna help us out.
Well, I think the guy who was logging in might have been me because I don't know how in depth I was gonna get. Hopefully share my screen.
That's why nobody said anything.
That's why nobody said anything, and then also was gone. So I didn't even get in to click. I said, "Are you ready?" I'm like, I was to click. Okay, there you go. There's somebody here waiting. I can put together. I'll update my PowerPoint with all, hopefully everything final.
Yep.
Even the administrative stuff. I'll share it. We'll get it in there, and then we can share it across our screen so it's recorded and all that stuff.
So why don't we go ahead and we'll just leave this over to the next meeting and still have it under admin team, although it's gonna be basically from all departments.
And then Mike, if you just want to call me and we can discuss it so you kind of understand the concept of it, and that maybe could help prevent some long meetings or something like that. That's all right.
Well, I understand the concept. We may have some philosophical differences, but we can probably hash that out over the phone.
Okay.
I'm not going to be available the next couple of weeks, but right after that, we'll get it together for a few minutes, either over a cup of coffee or a phone call or something.
Okay.
All right. So then we'll move on to the next item, which is adopt ordinance regarding the Illinois Paid Leave for All Workers Act for the Village of Winnebago. This is something that we talked the last couple admin team meetings about and the last board meeting, I believe. And as you know, starting January 1st of 2024, that'll be in effect. And if a municipality does not have an ordinance already in place for paid leave for workers, they have to follow the statute. And the statute is mandatory. You have to have a minimum of 1 hour earned for every 40 hours worked of time off. And as long as the municipality has in place prior to that paid leave, then you don't have to follow everything in the statute. And fortunately, INL recently had a sample or model ordinance for non-home rule entities, and we're a non-home rule municipality. So I was able to take that and put in our information into that ordinance and then have it for tonight's meeting. If you're ready to adopt it tonight, we may. If you would like to consider it, that's fine. You just need to have it passed before December 31st, so we can pass it December, bless you. Sorry. It's okay. So it's up to you. If you feel that you understand it and you want to pass it tonight, that's fine. If you want to wait.
I'm comfortable. I read through it and that, all that IML stuff. It looks like it's all consistent.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the ordinance regarding the Illinois Paid Leave for All Workers Act for the Village of Winnebago.
I'll second that.
2023-11.
-11, thank you. All right, any discussion regarding ordinance 2023-11?
And like Frank had mentioned, if you have it in place, you don't have to do anything then, but you still have to follow, which it is. You have to still give that number of hours, so you can't say, that's why we have to amend our personnel policy, because we're not up to that level. So, just so that.
The only item in the personnel policy was part-time between 0 and 2 years served. So we had to
Everything else.
bring that up just a little bit, otherwise everything else was as good as or better than what was in the statute for that particular part.
But this is only paid time off. It does not, they get holidays, that isn't included.
Correct, correct.
No.
Holidays is a separate thing, and it's not contemplated by the paid.
I just want to be sure, because they get that.
Yeah, no, I checked that to make sure, because the idea behind it is if someone has a doctor's appointment or a sick child or something like that, that the government in its infinite wisdom has decided that that's what employers, all employers are going to do regardless of size.
All right, any other discussion? One roll call, please.
Mr. Graham?
Yes.
Mr. LaFever?
Yes.
Mr. McKinnon?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Rourke?
Yes.
Mr. Pitney? Mr. Ackerman?
Yes.
All right, that's approved.
And if I could just mention just a couple of things on that, and I don't, probably doesn't become an issue with the village, but because you already have it, I think it's already in your system, how the earning happens or shows on the pay stubs as you go along. If you were, just so you know, that if you were ever to advance somebody paid time off, that if then they leave and they don't have enough in their bank, you can't get it back.
Right, so we do the accrual method versus the loading up in advance.
Right, so we're not loading in advance, but if somebody borrowed,
Yeah.
if they said, I know that I've accrued, 3 hours, but hey, can I take 15 or 10 or whatever? An employer could advance it to them. All I'm saying is that when they leave, if they have enough, then for you to, as the employer, to get it back, you can. But if they don't have enough, you can't
Right.
get it back. It would have to come out of their paycheck. You can't otherwise like surcharge them.
Oh, I see
That's
what
how
you're
the way
saying.
they've got it set up. And I know that's probably not going to happen here, but it's just the way that that's.
And that's something that we can look at when we look at our employee handbook and updating it, is putting that type of language in there, what's gonna happen. All right. We will move on to president items. We have the IMRF 2023 Executive Trustee election. And we have the ability, since we're an IMRF member municipality, the official ballot has executive trustee election, a 5-year term, vote for one. We vote for Jack Bauer or Sue Stanish, or there's a line for writing candidates. And
I don't think we voted last
We
year
didn't
because
vote.
we didn't know.
We didn't know the people.
right. And I'm just looking here, that they have to have it in no later than 4:30 PM on Friday, December 8th. So that would be before we have our December board meeting. So it's up to the board to decide if you want to take the time. I can pass this around and you can read about Jack Bauer or Sue Stanish and actually vote, or you can decide as a board not to vote.
And it was in the packet too, the biographies.
Oh, it is, okay,
Yeah, I'm looking at that right now.
okay.
But that's why we didn't, because you didn't know anybody and.
Yeah.
That little bit of biography doesn't tell you. Really.
So,
opinion.
I plan on abstaining, so
Yeah.
I know we're all waiting on me here. I don't know.
So I take it the board does not want to vote on this. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't feel appropriate making a decision on when I don't know, besides reading 2 paragraphs of each candidate.
I didn't know what the position does.
Yes. So,
Okay.
of
What
that,
you do only for AMR.
So at least, I think 3 members of the board are saying that they do not want to address it, so we will not address it then.
Yep.
Next item is just information on the snowmobile trail on the village-owned property. We have basically an annual agreement that if we don't say no, it continues, and the trail will be in the same place as it always has been. I don't think there's been any issue. We still own the property, it's not been sold to anybody else, so I believe the trail still goes over our property, and I think it's fine.
We've got all the liability exclusions and all of that. We took care of that a long time ago.
Yep, so
When it started.
just wanted to bring that up for your information. If we do sell that property, then they're gonna have to go speak to those individuals or else change where their route goes. Next item is the budget for Village Hall, Police Garage Department, and Public Works Garage Facility. When Adam and I were at the chili cook-off, we discussed this, and it's been something that I've talked about, I think Adam's talked about, Jason's talked about, I think all of us have talked about one time or another. We're really, the size of the Village Hall is getting small, and we have a Public Works garage that is aging. We have a police garage that is functional, but we also have a need for a police department, proper offices and things like that. I think we're just a little too small. And it would be nice to have a budget to possibly look at architectural plans or have an architect come in and be able to pay somebody to give us some advice on how we should be looking at things. The idea would be, we've got several village-owned sites that we can do. We have multiple things. We can build buildings, we can get modulars, we can do all kinds of different things. So I think we just need to figure out, we need to start, but we need to have money in the kitty, I think, to say we have money put there, so if we need some expert assistance, we can pay them and not have to worry about it. One of the things that Adam had suggested is that we look at our hail damage fund. If we're looking at that to help with Public Works or any other building, that might be something that we could use to fund looking into creating a new village hall or a new Public Works garage or a combination thereof. So the idea is, if we want to put it in for the 2024 budget, we need to make sure it's in there. So when we approve the budget in December or whatever timeframe we approve it, that we might have a line item specifically for that.
I did roll that in to the 2024 budget. It's currently at 146,000.
And that's the hail damage?
Yes, I could relabel it as well if you think it would present better.
can I talk?
Open discussion.
So obviously, the hail damage is from damage to all the buildings, the majority of it being the Public Works. Chad's been very vocal, it's his buildings, and he believes it's his money, I agree with him. His buildings are aging, they're failing, unsafe, all that stuff. I mean, they're pretty much, I would say, is horrible condition. I think what better way to do it is to take this hail damage fund, get design work, design the Public Works facility what they want, design our village hall. Because right now, we don't have a clue what something's gonna cost without a design. At all. You can say it's gonna be $10 million, or this could be a $3 million project. We don't know unless we have a design. So my feeling is, let's get our design work started and get that done, and then we can know where we gotta go, what needs to get cut out of these buildings, what can stay, what can we add. This obviously is not gonna be a 2-year project. This is gonna be a long 5-year project, maybe by the time you get anything built or finished. But we need to start with a design of some sort. to know where we're gonna go. And then with the design, we can know our footprint, then we know what lot we can go on and do those discussions.
One of the things that we can do is, we've talked about strategic planning before. There are multiple things you can do strategic planning for, and one of them is your buildings. We can have resident involvement, so you can have people that are basically on a committee that's going to address our buildings and grounds. And you would have an employee or two, whoever you want to assign to that committee, a trustee assigned to that committee, and basically have that group kind of look at all the information and kind of put things together. And that's one way to go about it, is to then get the input from the residents that are on the group and have them present their findings to the board. And then the board can say, okay, we've got this report, this is what they're recommending. Again, you know, we can go that route, we can go just with the route of a cow meeting, whatever way you want to go, but I think it's something that we need to probably start doing again in February, March timeframe. And just have some money set aside into a particular fund that allows us to say we want to draw from that as we need to have plans drawn or any type of expert, involvement with that. I know through Region 1 Planning, they had the opportunity to discuss, but one of the benefits is looking at contractors that can possibly build, and my understanding is likely to lease back. They're talking about how San Diego did that, where somebody built their government building for them, and then they leased it back, I believe, over a 20-year period, so they could pay for it over that time frame. They didn't have to come with all the money up front. That's something where we want to reach out to Region 1 Planning and say, how does this work? Is there anybody, who's involved in doing that? But that was one of the initial things when I met with them that they said could be done. So I think we have different avenues of trying to find ways to build things. I think we have a lot of resources. We just need to tap into those resources, whether it's human capital, being people that live here, or groups that we're already involved with and paying to be part of. I think we can utilize their knowledge to help us go there. But I really feel that this is the time we need to start.
I'd like to see the IGA with the township as well, because don't we share down there?
That's a good point.
Well, I'd just like to read it.
Well,
Or it doesn't matter.
there's a one-page document here. There's other existing documents that we've begun to search, and a lot of hearsay, but it's gonna open up some
It's gonna open up some
situational awareness.
Well, but we need to know that, because before you can do anything, you have to know what your legal responsibilities are, and what other parties' responsibilities are. And once you understand that, then you can go from there. So we need to know what our responsibility is, what we have there, and what the other parties' responsibilities are. Then we can decide, okay, what's best for the village.
And that's where it comes, where this is not gonna happen in 2 years. This is gonna be a long drawn out thing, but we gotta start at some point. And I think in the next year to start chopping away at it would be very beneficial. Because if you wait another 5 years, this building might not be standing down there. I mean, that's, if you walk there, you walk out back in the springtime, you smell dead gophers underneath the shop out back, and that's where your employees are working. To me, that is not appropriate. It wasn't like they just want to pick up roadkill off the road and have them back in the truck.
Well,
It's the
but you have to
dynamics of the building.
You have to understand where they are, though. I mean, we used to have rats back there till the lagoon was filled in.
Correct.
We have mice in our basement. We're, about 2,000 feet or whatever from the public.
Understand, so did I. So legal press for me, but it's just one of those things, though, us as a village, we need to make it stable. We got buildings that were made from the 50s and 60s. Now they're not going away. The public works department's not going away. Police department's not going away. Village hall's not going away.
We don't have to make
A decision.
talk anybody into it or anything, but I think just knowing the numbers is a good idea.
And that's where I guess I would like to know. We can't do budget anything without knowing. the
So do we
numbers.
think we need to have a line item specifically for public or building and grounds, or?
Like a sustainability or capital fund
Yeah,
or something. I
capital.
mean, because we reserve for everything else. We reserve for
Correct.
police cars, we reserve for, other equipment and so forth, but we don't
We don't have the
put a
same fund.
sustainability fund together.
We don't have a sinking fund for buildings.
So, yeah, I think that would be something we should do. This-
Maybe we wouldn't be able to do anything here for years because we could never come up with the money to paint the walls, if I
Right.
remember right?
Or a carpet.
Right, so
Yeah.
is that something, Sally, that we can,
I think we
Just-
should look at it in finance, don't you think,
Yeah.
and figure out how we're gonna do
if we
something.
can just create a line item and figure out, I mean, whether you put $50,000 in there or whatever the amount is, again, if we have to look at hail damage,
That's one thing I was thinking hail damage too,
we
was
can
it's
take
not
out
a,
that.
it's not a budget from the taxpayers' money, it's insurance money we got.
That can go towards the creation of a new building for what was damaged.
Correct. A building that needs to get
And,
replaced.
and we can always talk about that as to whether that's appropriate for the funding, but that's an initial way to fund that. If there's no other way to do it, we can take a look at that. And we don't have to use that full amount, it's just something there to utilize for 2024, whatever we need to use it for. So, all right, so finance will take a look at that? Correct. Thank you. All right. So we'll go on to new business. We have discussion with the village administrator.
I have one other issue.
Okay,
When Kelly was hired, she was, one of her requirements was to attend the Municipal Clerks Institute. And of course, the first year she wasn't able to go because they couldn't have it, but she has now completed that course. She has some paperwork to finish to be the certified municipal clerk, but her coursework is all done.
okay. So are you looking to have any action taken tonight? Okay.
Just
Thank you
for your information.
thank you for the update. I'm gonna put that in here so we don't miss that.
Well, I figured we're gonna get it to her.
Yep.
Copy.
Just to let you know, we received a note from Keep Northern Illinois Beautiful. Just said thanks to the village for the generous sponsorship of $1,400 for the medication collection event. And said over 50,000 area residents participated in the recycling, litter prevention, and hazardous materials collection programs organized by KNIB. And Pam wrote a special note saying thank you again for your generous donation. All your residents appreciate this event, and this year UW Health collected usable meds for low-income families. It said 80 households came in and we collected about 150 pounds of, I can't remember what she said, meds. And she said UW Health was not, I think you read, counted.
Yeah, UW Health was not counted, which we will do next year.
So I'm guessing they brought in things specifically that weren't added to the numbers from KNIB. But anyway, she just wanted to let us know that, again, they're appreciative that we partner with them. I know there were some issues with collection by the county sheriff, maybe. They may not want to do it in the future, but.
The storage.
Yeah, the storage.
Apparently, there's a large cost outlay to dispose of these items. The DEA actually has a disposal time, one time a year, twice a year, but you have to drive all the way to Chicagoland area to get rid of them. It's a rather large expense to have a private company come in and dispose of that stuff, so I think that's one of the reasons why the sheriff's department is no longer doing that.
Okay.
I'm
I
also,
remember in past years, they would actually come out to our sites at the end of the drive, and they would take possession of the controlled substances and haul it away, and they would take it to the disposal. But I think they were doing that through a private company,
Okay.
and that's pretty costly from what I understand.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
I'm surprised they have that provision in her note that said they collected usable meds for low-income families.
I know, that's what I was
Yes.
putting on my thing.
Oh my
Use that?
God.
Yeah,
I mean, just liability-wise, what if something's tainted?
right. Yeah,
I mean, I understand the
I'm
concept
assuming
is,
probably went through a lot of checks and balances before
It
they
is.
were.
I don't know, I
They
mean.
trust themselves.
I don't want to know. No.
Yeah, no, that's on them. if
Yep,
they
no, I
want us to
know.
do that. Also, just want to let you know that we did receive a card from our Illinois representative, Tony McCumbee, as Jeff pointed out. She stopped here on Halloween. Connie Marnie, her assistant, was here at 3 o'clock, 3:30, and Tony stopped by maybe about half an hour later, and they were here till about 5 o'clock. I didn't notice a lot of residents coming in and talking to them, but it was an opportunity where Jeff and I were able to talk to Tony and just different issues. And it was a good time to be able to interact with her and with Connie. They're both great people. So anyway, she wrote a letter just saying, great to catch up with you on Tuesday. Thank you for helping us host these types of events and have a great fall. Reach out anytime. And she truly means it. She is a person that will give her time to discuss anything. So if you need anything, reach out to her. If you want me to reach out to her, I would be glad to do so. But I'm glad that we have her as our representative.
Whose place did she take?
She took Andrew Chesney's place because they
Except the district
redistricted it.
is
They
different.
redistricted everything. So, yeah, I mean, she wasn't before. Andrew was ours and she was in a different area, but now she
So
covers.
he's still in, but just in
He's
a
a senator.
different
He took
area.
over Brian Stewart's kind
Oh,
of
gotcha.
area. as state
But
senator.
she's got,
Yeah.
it's the most,
Well, it's all the way, she's in Savannah, that's where she lives. And so
yeah,
it goes from Savannah all the way to Rockford.
but it also goes south.
Yeah, it goes south towards Peoria, I think. Something.
It's an awful district.
All right, and
And the village administrator, we need to schedule a special meeting on November 20th.
I was gonna talk about that. We're gonna schedule 2 of them when we break out the topic up. So, yeah, November 20th at 6 PM, we'll have a special meeting. This will be for specifically an executive session for the board to review the interviews that were done last week. Currently, all packets are available with Rachel in her office, hard copies only at this time. There are 8 candidates that interviewed last week, 2 of them dropped out.
2 of the 8.
2 of the 10 dropped out, so we're down to 8 already.
That was before the interviews, they dropped out.
Yes.
They actually, did they drop out before the interview or then the
Yes,
interviews?
yeah.
Okay.
No interview.
Well, I
I'm out of here.
I don't know the details.
20 minutes.
They saw the list of
Before
all
the
things
schedule.
the person has to
Okay,
get done.
I
And the
didn't
other
know
one
the
was the
details.
night before.
Okay. I didn't know the details, I just know they dropped out, I didn't know if they came in the meeting and said, hey, thanks, but no thanks, so anyways.
20 minutes.
So Monday, the 20th will be a special meeting for the board members to review the packets and then hear the recommendation from the admin group for who the board to interview. And then tentative interview dates will be December 5th. Time to be determined. Right now, I would like to start interviews at 5 o'clock. I know that's gonna be tentative on people's work schedules, if they can be here at 5, I'm hoping it's early enough. What I like to do is get the interviews back to back,
How many do you expect to do?
3 to 4. Roughly
They
allow
recommended
45 minutes up to 45 minutes to interview the person, 15 minutes for us to deliberate, followed by the next one to come in.
Okay, now, you have to allow enough time to open the meeting in regular session and appoint a president pro tem for that
Okay.
evening. So,
Okay, so probably first interview will be about 5:15.
well, just so you allow
Yep.
that much time.
Yeah, we'll determine all that on, but I just like to do it on the back to back on the 5th. So we all can be present. It'll be
So 4
easy.
interviews on the 5th.
Correct.
And then what if we want to interview all 8? Do we have another date or no?
Not right now. We can add another date. We can talk about that Monday, the 20th. I'm just putting the tentative date, that tentative option, the 5th out there so we can get it on their books.
But they need to come in between now and,
Now and Monday, and you gotta come during office
I
hours.
think it's not possible, it's just not possible.
I
but you can
understand.
arrange. if you would
We can
want.
arrange it. That
To
was,
come in on Saturday?
Well, Kelly or Rachel,
Yeah.
one of them will arrange.
but that was Mary's recommendation, just do hard copies at this point, due to the.
Julie, I'll
Yeah.
also be here on Saturday.
But it will be a combination.
You'll be here on Saturday?
I could meet, yeah,
So,
whenever.
it'll be accommodated. That was just due to the fact we didn't want electronic copies out there. No offense to Frank, but we want to minimize the copies going
And they
out.
could,
So, right now, that is about all the news I have on it. And then obviously we'll look at making a decision at our December regular board meeting. If we wanted to go into executive session and do a tentative offer, or if we want to do a second round of interviews.
And always that tentative offer is subject to contract negotiation.
Correct. So that's where we are right now. I've had decent conversation with Mary last week. Sounds like she's been getting some phone calls from other municipality attorneys, want to know how we're doing our process, and want to know if we have a manual on how to do this, so.
We're creating one as we go along.
So,
No, and I do want to comment that, I'm very impressed with how the village is doing this and handling it. This is kind of a new situation, it really is. I thought by contacting certain other attorneys who do this a lot, that they would just have a playbook, and comment to me was, that's very interesting. We've never had that before. The other thing they can't believe is the number of candidates that we have had. And so I really commend everybody for trying to do the process as best that they can, as fairly as they can, from the staff, getting questions at the beginning and under, Adam's guidance about having certain stock, questions, and also having it so that there was some initial ranking, just because we want to make sure, regardless of who is applying, that we have a very fair process, and I think we can easily justify the process that was used.
and all
And if we-
138 applicants, if you want to see the resumes, they're in the office. If you want to see all 138 of them, just I want to make sure.
You're crazy if you do.
Well,
I just want to make that known that they're all available for anybody
And do you
to look at.
want the village attorney at these meetings on the 20th and the 5th?
Yes. Please.
So she knows, she's got to get their schedule.
all right. We'll move on. Another item is the car wash item I had mentioned before that I bring up under new business. And as you know, Mr. Langley has come forward saying that this property is for sale. This has been something that was brought up to the village board before. We do have an appraisal that the village had done back in 2020. I can share that with the board members, but that would be something we'd want to go into executive session and discuss the possibility of the purchase of this property. So if it's something that you want to do tonight, we would need a motion probably to go into executive session to continue the discussion of this. If it's something you don't want to address tonight, you don't have to address it tonight. In fact, it's not on the board agenda. We can always put it on a different night as well, different board meeting.
I would advise that you do it at a different time, because even though we have executive session on the agenda, you are supposed to have what you're going into executive session about, and we don't have that here because that wasn't contemplated.
So, go ahead, Jeremy.
Well, I would kind of wrap this up with 14C there with the budget for the village hall. And since we don't know, this is me personally speaking, not speaking on behalf of the village, I don't want to hold your sale up if there's other people who are interested, if we don't know what we want yet. So once we've figured out the new budget, the new plan of how it's all gonna lay out, it might be perfect and we want that. But at the same time, we may not want it at all. And this is again, just me personally speaking, I don't want you to sit there and go, well, they mentioned it at one point, so you're holding out for 5 years from now. For it. I have no problem discussing this.
5 months from.
No, I think that's a good point, Jeremy, that, if you choose to sell to somebody else, don't bank on the fact that the village is gonna buy it or be interested in buying it. The village is interested in discussing it, and we will discuss it, I believe, at some point in the future. So, if you do have another person or another entity that wants to buy it, so be it. We understand that you may want to sell it before we're ready to maybe make an offer on the property. but we will consider it and likely put it on an agenda. My thought would be maybe community development would want to look at this. I don't know if the board feels that that's the proper committee, because we really don't have a building and grounds committee. I don't think Public Works is really tasked for it. Obviously, police wouldn't be tasked for it, so, Jason, I'm guessing, I think it would be good to go there.
Well, and especially since we've had an appraisal in the past, I know that would have to be updated or whatever, potentially, but since we do have an appraisal up there, that I know in the past, the village has sometimes at least looked at, is this a property we might be interested in for the right price? Not even necessarily for that particular building, but just to acquire some more property.
And I would like to be at that community development meeting to give some background information, because I know the history of the board when we talked about it, and maybe some of the members on community development may not have been on the board at that time. So, Jason, if it isn't board. Well, Mike and Julie might know, so yeah, I would, if you can let me know when you're planning to schedule that, I'd be glad to try and see if I'm available.
Can I make any comments at all?
You're welcome to, yes.
Well, primarily, you voiced interest in this a year or so ago, maybe 2 years?
Yeah.
Three. Wow.
Yep, May of 2020, I think, or before that.
And that long ago, okay.
Yeah.
So I came to you and the people at the town hall have voiced interest in just buying the building in the lot, and you voiced interest in getting the lot out in front for a parking lot. Is that true?
That's what we had talked about, yes.
Yeah.
And we had talked about both, and then I remember at the time you had mentioned you wanted to keep the building itself for storage, so you were only interested in selling the one parcel, but we did get an appraisal on both parcels, and that's what I would talk to our committee about.
Well, I forwarded that to you. I got an appraisal from a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
I was interested in, well, it was 110,000 for both of them, but
right,
it'd probably be like 60,000 for the lot and 50 for the building.
Mm-hmm. So that's something that we would discuss and determine, from a village point of view and from the committee, what they would like to do, if anything, with the properties. So we will discuss that at the community development meeting, but, we
discuss it when?
At the community development meeting. So that would be possibly at the next committee meeting. You're welcome to contact the village office. We do usually post an agenda outside. It has to be at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. We typically will also put them on our website. So if you want to look at our website, you can look at that and see when our meetings are posted. But Trustee Ackerman is the committee chairman for community development. And so once that committee sets the time and date for the meeting, they'll also have an agenda. And if it's on that agenda, then typically it'll be discussed. If it's not on the agenda, then we usually don't discuss anything that's not on the agenda. Okay?
It'll be November 30th at 5:30 p.m.
Jason, I will not be there. Well, I may. We're coming back that day from Florida, so I may or may not be able to make that meeting, but.
Otherwise, we could talk about the.
Yeah, we can talk about it ahead of time, yeah. All right. Okay, well, again, thank you, Mr. Langley, for being here. I appreciate, you following up on that issue and staying through the whole meeting.
Well, I appreciate it. I'd like to get it done as quick as we can, but so if you're not interested, I can stay out,
Absolutely, no, that's why we want to discuss that, so.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other new business to come before the board? All right, hearing none, if we could have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
After we are listening.
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting is now adjourned.
Thank
Thank you, Mr. McKinnon, for appearing virtually.
29th?
Yeah.
Have a good evening, everybody.
All right, you have a good night.
How are you?